You ready, Chris?
You ready, Ben?
Let's get it.
Man, let's get it, man. Welcome to the Follow Then Lead podcast.
Yeah, on strength, I never thought I'd be on this side of any type of interview, but this is kind of cool. I will say this.
Oh, yeah?
Word, like...
You've never interviewed anyone?
I never have. So this is a first for me, so...
Let's do it.
Let's do it. How you doing today, my man?
I'm good. It's a good day.
It's a good day? I hear that.
Yeah, this morning I woke up and was like with the intention to run.
Okay.
So the rest of my day would be good. Like, because I knew that we had a lot going on. I was like, all right, let me get those endorphins out. Like, because there's days when I don't work out and my days just kind of like, just emotionally, yeah, it just goes through, man. But when I do run in the morning, I hate it, but I feel so much better. So today I ran this morning. I ran 2 miles and I feel pretty good.
You see, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up because I wake up in the morning and I'm like, where's my coffee? And I look like the curb keeper. It's a problem. What's going on, Ben? How you feeling this morning? How you doing? How's your spirit?
Yeah, my spirit is good. I feel pretty good, just staying focused, staying clear-headed, not trying to get too deep on like what didn't work out, what didn't happen in life, but just stay focused on like the goals that we have ahead, who I want to be and who continue to mold, not so much like who I've lost in this process, but more so like who I have gained and who I will continue to gain and the impact. So yeah, I feel pretty good with that and just not getting too caught up in the things that didn't work out.
You can and can't control. I hear that.
Yeah.
I want to build off of something you said there, because let me introduce you. Who I'm speaking to right now is Ben Baines, okay, the one and the only, founder of Follow Then Lead Pod. And this is your host again, Julian Baynes. And I'm just here to talk to my mans. So let's open this up right quick. Real talk. What made you think Follow Then Lead? Let me bring this to the people.
It just came to me one day. I really was trying to figure out for like a couple weeks, the idea. I called Chris, I called a few people like, yo, like, this is what I'm trying to do. It was just like a revelation one day, And so I'm calling people like, all right, this is what I need to get going. I need to get started. So I just was like getting started with the idea, having conversations. How do I get going? And then it was like, as the process was continuing, even we started recording and didn't have a name. And, it was just like praying and trying to brainstorm. And so it was a lot of like evolution of man, transition of manhood, just these trying to like come up with a name that wasn't too cheesy or corny. But Follow Then Lead just kind of came. Yeah, it just, I can't
even speak to it.
Yeah, I can't even say like how or why. I just started looking up like leader, something like that. And then it was just like Follow Then Lead. So there was different like variations of it initially, but Follow Then Lead came like, okay, because we couldn't use this other variations, Follow Then Lead came naturally.
See, I like that. I like that because conceptually, to me, it just makes sense. You can't do something until you know how to do it. You got to follow somebody who is a leader to become a leader.
100%. And I think for me, this all came from like, I guess my life, realizing that, I think we'll go into it. Yeah, we'll go into it, but
let's do that.
Okay.
I want to better understand the why behind the pod. So I got an understanding of what brought Follow Then Lead up, but why do it at all?
It basically stemmed from my life, and I know we'll get into my life a little bit, but just realizing that, when I was a 15-year-old kid, my stepfather dies, and I'm thrust into manhood, quote unquote, and I'm told that to be a man from like my stepbrother at the time, like that, I can't show emotion. I can't, I got to be the man in the house. I got to take care of my family, blah, blah, blah. And so the image that I was given was I had to know what it was to be a man. Because in my head, men knew what they were doing. So now that I'm the man, I got to know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't know how. I didn't know anything. I'm 15. I'm an adolescent. Like, if I look at a 15-year-old now and they're going to act like a man, I'm like, boy, relax. You don't know. It is okay not to know what you don't know. So I go through life, trying to put on this front like I knew what I was doing, didn't know. Men trying to help me along the way, wasn't really too receptive to it because I'm supposed to be the man. Like, you can't tell me how to be the man because I'm supposed to know. So, like, subconsciously, that's how I moved throughout my life. And then, like, with therapy, realizing that I need help. And once I learned that I needed help just in life as a person, then it was like, okay, as a man, I need help. How do I learn how to be a man without learning from a man? So then I started to ask the men around me, like, yo, how did you deal with this? How did you deal with that? How do you deal with this? Emotionally, how do you deal with that? And the one thing I realized that a lot of men aren't naturally just going to talk to you. And so just because I was so curious, or maybe I just looked desperate, I don't know, but they just showed their willingness to help or express their life. Like, oh, okay, I've been through that. This is how I did it. This is, I've been in situations like that. This is how so I'm like, all right. It started to really help me even through therapy, to grow. And even as internally, it just really helped me to evolve. And so it was like a dawning moment for me one day was that we need to have a podcast as the initial step for whatever we want to do, but to really bridge the conversation with men in expressing themselves about their life experience. So then young men learn that we don't always know and that we're learning along the way also.
I really hope Keenan Ivory Wayans does not sue me for this, but message. All right, so but with that said, you did mention that you went to your elders. You took their wisdom. Tell me a bit about some of these elders. Were they people that you were raised with? Were these members from your childhood, from your adulthood? Like, you said you were a young man, but give me a bit more context with that.
So your question is now, me reaching out to my elders, or what was my...
Well, in your description, I guess I want to better understand who were these men that you reached out to?
Okay. It was a mix of everybody. I was just seeking for the truth. I needed to know answers. So it was every man that was like in my influence, I felt like I could trust. I'm going to you. I need to talk.
That's real.
And like I needed it. I felt like a sucker, but I was pushing myself through it. Like I needed to do it. And there was things that I got that I never got in a way. So like when I finally, like my uncle was like the man to me growing up. Like to this day, I'm like, I go to that's my guy, because I've known him for a long time. He's like still young, 10 years older than me. So like he was always cool. And so I always would go to him for like different things. But I didn't go to him in a place of like vulnerability. And so now that I'm doing it, it was like he had a chance to pour into me in these vulnerable moments. And when I would be like, man, I'm really struggling with this, he'd be like, nigga, you a man. Like, you need to know that you're a man. Like, that you're man enough for in any situation. And like, for me, that was like, when I look back, that was like, I felt empowered after that conversation. Like, it really did. Like, I felt like I was fueled because I never got that. And so to get it from somebody I had already looked up to, that was like powerful.
That's huge.
And then it was just my uncle, my stepfather, before he passed, I was asking him questions. I have mentors around. My therapist is a male. And then, people at work, I was willing to just open up and be like, bro, I'm struggling. So, yeah, it was just a mix of people I had all around me.
So let's do this, because I want to get to better know who you were and that kind of growth. You see what I'm saying? Because you started at one point, you ended where you are here, and you're still growing, right? Mm-hmm. So let's kind of track that. Who were you in your childhood? What formed your childhood? Let's go from there.
Yeah, it's a great question. My childhood, we have similar. We have our same father. I don't remember anything. I mean, I was 2 when my parents divorced, or our father divorced my mom. And so I don't really remember it, but I just knew growing up, I knew who he was because he'd come in periodically. Mm-hmm. Not that we spent time, but he was supposed to come and never did. You know what I mean? And then I think it was a certain age where I was like, I'm good. Like, I'm not playing this game. Because I didn't want to keep being let down. And my sister kept going, and I would always be like, yo, don't go. Like, what's the point? because I kept saying you're gonna be let down, like you're gonna be let down because he's not coming. But she did get to experience him different than I did, or even maybe you did. But yeah, so then I had my stepfather growing up till I was about 15, and then he passed. My grandfather was around, you know. So my stepfather's family was like my family for a long time because my mom didn't really have me around either side of my family. So our father's side, I wasn't really around periodically. And then my mother's side, I didn't really see my cousins there or my family on that side either. So I grew up a lot with my stepfather's family. And I knew they weren't like my family, but it felt like a family. And so I had a lot of friends growing up. Like life was consistent for the most part. And, you know, I didn't really have any issues, but me and my stepfather clashed a lot. You know, he was really hard. You know, he was really old school. You know, he passed when I was 15 and he was 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mom was like in her 30s. So he was older. So he was really rigid. Like it was no affection. There was no emotion. There wasn't no hanging out. There wasn't no one-on-one conversations. And he was just hard. He was like that with his own kids. And so he was, yeah, he'd be like slap me upside my head. He'd make fun of me. He'd call me like Benjamina. Like he'd belittle me. Yeah. Stay away from your mom. You know, what are you up under your mom? What are you you little girl? Like he'd get on me about that stuff. And that affected like who I thought I was as I grew older. You know, because I'd be like, damn, am I man enough? Because the source for me was my stepfather giving these voice into me, questioning me. Now I grow up questioning me. You know, it's crazy, bro. And then so he dies, I was 15. You know, we start bouncing around Massachusetts. You know, we moved from like Malden to the city, to Brockton, out to Holyoke where I finished high school. And my grandfather died, my mother's father. He died when I was 17. And I was starting to spend a lot of time with him, and he passed. And then so all the sources of my, you know, manhood were gone. And so then now I moved out the house at 18 as soon as I graduated high school because I'm like, yo, I got to go learn how to be a man. And I can't learn here because it's only that I need to take care of my mom. So to go back, like I was 15 and we moved to Holyoke. I think I turned 16 and I started to work. It was either work or play sports. I wanted to play football. I couldn't. So I started working. So helping pay bills, helping around the house. Like, you know, you have to do what you have to do. And so, yeah. And then so then when I became, you know, I was working all up until to this day since I was 16. And then so like in my 20s, it was just trying to learn myself, you know, figure out life, who I am as a man, chasing all these different things to try to define you.
So with that said, because you touched on a lot in your explanation of, you know, your childhood and coming up, and you already kind of touched on a point I wanted to ask about how that voice was formed. Mm-hmm. Since then, how have you, I should say, dealt with that voice?
I mean, that's a great question. I think one thing I want to touch on too is that the state of vulnerability. You know, I was introduced to sex by a familiar source when I was 12. Okay. You know, through my stepfather, through all of this, right? And it was like a forced situation. And, you know, she was older, whatever. I didn't really know at the time, you know, I'm a kid. I was just being forced to do something, knowing I didn't want to do it. But, you know, it was like a secret. And, yeah, I think with the voice from the stepfather being like, you know, you basically like, I'm not man enough, then to having experiences where now this is what is defining manhood. So now I have to, and then you go through life, through your teens, you're learning from your boys and people around you like that. Okay, you got to chase honeys, you got to get the cat, you know, how many notches on the belt, You know what I mean? You learn, and then you're watching these music videos and movies, like, you know, and so then you start to do all these things, knowing I didn't want to, you know? I just wasn't strong enough because not that many images I had of that, you know what I mean? That consistent man that was just there for his family. I was just being driven in a direction where, I guess, to repeat the cycle, you know, early of, like, say, our father, who was a man of many women, you would say, in one way, but then basically through my experiences, I'm driven in the same direction, not from the same source problem, but just through life, I'm following in the same footsteps, thinking that I'm gonna be
Breaking
different.
the cycle.
Yeah, thinking that I'm gonna be different, but I'm actually, because I'm angry, because I'm mad, through all of this stuff, my father not being there, my stepfather, these experiences, friends having to work, not take care of and take care of my family, and not just be. You know, I was just angry, and I couldn't really express my anger because I was, you know, it was that you can't express it in aggression, because I used to fight a lot, and then I can't express it through emotion because I was just never showed. So then how do I ever express anything? I don't, because then I was reinforced as a man, you can't express your emotion. So all of these things to this day, I mean, and then you live as a young adult and you have these experiences where, you know, especially in dating, women want more from you, you know, and I was constantly being asked for more where I couldn't. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to. I don't know what it looks like. You can see it on TV, but that's not tangible. I can't talk to that person and figure out how. So then I'm just not doing it. This is what manhood is. You gonna accept it or not? Like, what do you want from me? So I became hard too, you know, because I can't be soft in expression. I had to be hard. So then those were my examples of man. Like, my grandfather was hard, my stepfather was hard, my uncle's kind of hard. So I'm gonna be hard. Like, what you want?
That's just what it is.
That's what it is. Like, but then, like, I didn't want to be hard all the time. So I was constantly in this tangle or this battle internally about who I wanted to be and who I felt like I was raised to be versus what I was shown, you know? So how do I grapple with it? How do I deal with it? I mean, I think throughout my life, I was constantly in search for the answers. I was constantly in search for the truth in the midst of all the nonsense. And it all came to a head just with therapy, you know, really. So I would say a relationship really started the awakening, you would say.
Okay.
You know, she was in school to be a therapist. She was trying to get her PhD and all that. And it was a very short-lived relationship. It wasn't long, but it was probably the most impactful because I had to see outside of myself, and I was being challenged in every area of my life. And I was so afraid to move forward because I just didn't know how. I couldn't express myself. She needs me to express myself. She wanted me to, but I'm afraid. So I just pull away. And then me pulling away is the same thing I've been doing. So then I'm like, oh, why do I keep doing this? What am I afraid of? So that started a long process. It started a long process for years of me trying to figure out myself, analyzing myself. Why? And then I start therapy. And he's like, well, you've done a lot of the research already within yourself internally. Now, how do we get you over the hump to make the change you want to make, to be who you want to be? You know, so that's been my experience with therapy, is letting the voices go and being okay with self. And then moving in a power that exists in me. People see, but I don't see. You know, because I'm the little boy in my head, afraid, you know, I hear the voices, you know, I got to be this way. I got to show, you know, I got to be cool. I got to fit in. And so that's how, I guess, therapy has helped me grapple with it. And the more I've, you know, communicated and asked questions, the more it's helped me to get to this point in life and feeling okay with myself. And the more I've done this, the more reinforcement I've gotten from others, especially men, to say, yo, you're doing a great job. Yo, I'm inspired by you. Yo, I'm proud of you. You know, like, man, like, okay, this is the work that's necessary. It's hard. to look in yourself, to make changes, to not be the status quo, to fight and be who you want to be, it's really hard. But if you want to have love for yourself and actually make the changes to change the cycles, then you have to do hard work, because, they say that, for us, we have to fight our own demons, right? People say. But if our parents never fight their demons, their giants, we have to fight their giants, and then we have to fight our own. So we're in a war, whether we like it or not. It just depends on what state of war do we want our children to be in. We want them to be set up to just deal with their demons, and have an environment, where they're, established to be who they can be earlier. And so for me, that's my goal. Like, I want young men, young women, my children, my nieces and nephews to understand that early on they can be good with who they are. They can fight their own battles, and they can go after who they want to be and how they want to treat people, because they don't need to be reactionary. They don't need to be listening to everybody. Just have love for self, love for God, and love others. Yeah.
I'll tell you this, something you spoke on that I feel like is especially important given our familial dynamic is fighting the giants or fighting the demons of those that came before you. You see what I'm saying? I know for self that we definitely shared a lot of those difficulties when it came to our father's demons. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We know that we took that inherently, but what are some of the things that you purposely took from all the people that you mentioned, right? So you mentioned your stepfather, right? And what he imposed on you. But what did you take from him that you thought was real, and others in that same vein?
Good or bad?
Good.
Okay, good. Like my stepfather, he was like very adamant on being a gentleman, like taking care of the women around you, taking care of the people around you, like showing love and care. As much as he didn't
do it,
right? But he was like, do this, do that. Walk on the outside of the street when you're walking with a woman. Open the door for her. Open her car door. Like, do all these things. Buy her stuff. Show her that you love her. You might not be able to express it as a man because he wasn't trained to. But he was trained to do the things that showed love. And so those are the things that he taught me, was do at the action of love. Like, all right, I might not be able to express it to you verbally or emotionally, but I'm gonna do this. This is the way I love you.
Let me ask you this, just as a quick, on top of that. With that said and understood, looking back, did you think he loved you?
I mean, I would say yeah. I mean, he probably, the way he wanted, he did the best he could, because he's a stepfather. He's coming in to assist, but I'm not even probably able to receive it from him because I'm just mad. And I always thought about this, like, if I wasn't as an angry kid, and I'm probably have that angst towards him, like, oh, you're not my father. And he's like, well, forget you then. Like,
hey, I'm trying.
Yeah. But I mean, he was already hard. So, but imagine, I'm not saying that it would change. I'm just saying, like, it didn't make it easy to have a relationship with a young boy. Because I imagine being a father or stepfather and her son and having that angst towards me. Eventually, you kind of stop trying to deal with him if you don't know how to fight through that. You know what I mean?
100%.
So yeah, I would say I think he loved us for sure. Because he did what he was supposed to do, right? He cared for us. He provided for us. Created an environment for us that we didn't really have a lot of struggle. I mean, we struggled, but it wasn't like the bottom.
It wasn't as bad as it could be.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I apologize because I definitely did disrupt that earlier question, and I do want to circle back to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to that. So you gave me one example of someone that you looked up to and the things you took from them. Mm-hmm. Give me another example of somebody that you looked up to that you wanted to emulate.
Yeah, my grandfather, to this day, like, yeah, to this day, my grandfather, the way I see my grandfather is much different than like my family, because me coming in at my age, he was a lot softer than he was with all of them. And he was very like, he communicated with me. He took time, he sat down. With them, they remember him being like, he might talk to him, but he was very like hard. Got whooped for everything, you know what I mean? He was very strict. He had issues. But when I came around, he was a lot softer. He had already recognized that a lot of these things weren't good. So then, maybe emotionally, I was probably a softer kid too, so he was a little more gentle. The reason why I look up to him, because I look at when we would have our family reunions, it was Grandpa's place, Grandpa's house. It was like this, man, everybody would come to Grandpa's house every year. We'd come together. You could just see like a product of him, like the life. All my cousins, when they would get married, they'd come like, yo, look at my family. And he'd like bless it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was powerful. And so for me, like, I want that. I want to grow up one day where like my family, we have things, we have stuff because of the hard work that I've done, where they can come and be like,
not just want your blessing.
Yeah, like that. I'm proud of you. Where I can continue to pour into them, and that's what I look up to my grandfather. I learned a lot from him just in the short time we had as a teenager. But he poured into me about things, basically taking care of my responsibilities. If I don't have enough money, the only things that matter is you pay your rent and get food. If you can't pay the light bill, the water, it don't matter. You got somewhere to stay. You got food in your belly. He's like, and then the other things will come into play, but you take care of your responsibilities. And he said, don't mess with home. Basically, don't crap where you lay your head. So around work, no games around it. You ain't messing with nobody at your job. No dating, none of that. Around where you live, none of that, no games. And then there was another one, like just through like friendships, like don't. That one didn't really play out, but the first two I took a lot, and I like to this day I don't really, mess with those kind of scenarios. I mean, and my uncle, I would say one more, just like my uncle was to this day is very impactful. Like I learned how to, I guess, be cool with myself from him. He was always adamant, just being good with yourself. Like the reason why I thought he was so cool, he would just say it's because he's himself. It's not that he's being cool because he's expressing an image that he was portraying and then I gotta portray. He was like, no, I like the things I like and I'm just gonna love it no matter what. You think I'm cool because I'm just being me. So just be you and people will think you're cool. Like people will relate to you, they'll connect to you. And it took me a while, but like I learned those things from him, and he would always just like I said before, pour into me and say like, yo, you're man enough, you're strong enough. Like, you can do anything. You don't need to like, I guess is the point that I learned too, like a lot of, like you said earlier, that the male identity is tied in women.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so bad. Like it's true. Right? Because women push us to be the best us, that we can be. A good woman will push us and help mold us to be the best version of ourselves. It first starts with our mom, and then it goes into whoever we choose to be with, or our wife, and then the other women too, right? Aunts, cousins, sisters. Just different aspects we can push us to be better. But he taught me about like, you don't need a woman to prove that you're man enough. You're man enough within yourself. That you're strong enough within yourself. Once you become good with you, then you can be beneficial for her. So it's that like it's that cycle of power. Like, and that's what people say, like, like Will Smith and them talk about all the time, like, your happiness is on you. My happiness is on me. Us coming together is like, it's just sharing of our love together. And it's more so like the interdependence. You're independent. I'm independent. Our interdependence is what makes our relationship and our marriage work, because we're coming together. you're not dependent on me. I'm not dependent on you. We come together. It's like interdependence. And so he's another one. And then my stepfather, last one. I know I'm going on, but like my stepfather, he passed a couple years ago. Another stepfather, he passed a couple years ago, and he, helped me to see past the things I was taught, like from my mom.
That's really important.
Yeah, from my mom, it was like I was basically a man if I took care of my family, and my family was my mom, my sister. And he was like, I would always hear growing up, like in my young adult life, that like you can't be good to others until you're good for yourself, right? And I'm realizing it a lot now, but he taught me. I was under the impression my whole young adult life is that I needed to take care of my mom, my sister. I needed to be the one to make sure they were good since I was 15. And he was like, yo, why do you think that? It's like, I was telling my grandfather, I gotta be like my grandfather. He's like, well, if you want to be like him, this was his family. You all are his responsibility. You all fell under him. So you can't now replace him and take care of them because it's not your role. It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is for those that will be under you once you start your family. And it was like cognitive dissonance at the time. I was like, yeah, right. Like, because my brain is trained that like I need to do this for us. And then once I started to realize that I needed to take care of myself, get myself in good shape, then I can help y'all and be good for you. But I can't be good for you if I'm trying to take care of you like my grandfather, or, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that I had those are some I guess impactful people.
Because what I want to ask as a result of that, right? You mentioned a lot of different components of manhood inadvertently, right? It's the protection of others, and it's gentlemanlyhood, and all of that good stuff. But let's dig in a little bit deeper then. What is manhood?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, you hear it all the time. You take care of your responsibilities, right? That's number one. I think just being an adult is taking care of responsibilities. Right? That's how you go from adolescence to adulthood, is you handle your responsibilities, just period.
On your own.
And so being a man, like, it's even that much more impactful if you don't handle your responsibilities. It trickles down. Everyone around you is affected by it, whether you think it or not. But everyone around you is affected by you not handling your responsibilities. And so responsibility is number one. Obviously provision. You going to work every day. Like, it's in the Bible. Like, you need to work.
Work if you want to eat.
You need to work if you want to eat. And basically, a lazy, person is like evil. Like, you being lazy is very selfish because it's all about you. That's the heart that I take from that. It's like, because you're being lazy because you don't want to do it. So it's about you, right? And so it should be about others. Like, I'm working to do these things for other people. That's my heart. And that's what I think manhood is that it's not, when you go to work and you make your money, it's not about stacking your bread and, building your bank account and then
chasing
you flossing the world. Yeah. And then you showing the honeys you're trying to get them. That's not what manhood's about. Like, I make this money to support and take care of my community. And that's what we need to do as men, is like, it's our community that's at stake. And then, I think men need to express themselves, emotionally. And then,
give me more on that.
What?
On the men need to express themselves more, because I know that's a big piece of why you created Follow Then Lead. So express on that.
Yeah, manhood, you're doing the actions. We do these actions to prove our manhood.
Okay.
Whether it's making money, building our businesses, building our brands, getting 401ks or stocks, right? Like real estate, all these things to like build generational wealth, especially in our world nowadays, right? Legacy is really important. So like we're doing all of that, right? And then we're building with one another about how to make more money and how to do this, how to that, how to excel in your careers, because that defines manhood, our careers, what we do, how much money we make, right? Like clothes that we put on. That's like kind of like not the true definition, but like that's what society, that's how it operates, right? But when it comes to the things that we really want, like we need to express ourselves, because we're never, just like me trying to figure out like what, how can I help myself? How can I learn how to be a man? It wasn't until I was allowing myself to be vulnerable with people, specifically men. Like, yo, how do I do this? Because I don't know how to do it. And then you go into relationships. Like, we're not going to get the things we need from our women until we express ourselves. And that's our biggest fear. Because what if I'm not man enough no more? What if she, but low key, not low key, but definitely, like, number one, that's what she needs from us. Because they take, people say all the time, women are incubators, they take something and then they evolve it, right? You give her a seed, she gives a baby. You give her a house, she makes it a home, right? You give her an idea, there's a business, right? So, like, if that's the case, if I give her my love, or if I give her my fears, my worries, what is she gonna do with those things? A good woman. Let's make it clear, right?
That part.
A good woman's gonna take that. So we call her our rib, right? The Bible talks her that she was taken from our rib, and she was made. So if she's a rib, what does the rib do? It protects the internal organs, specifically the heart and the lungs, right? The heart is our pump. It pumps blood, and the lung gives us life. So if I don't give those things to her, I'm never gonna get a human, like life, love, right? So that's like, I need to do that for you, because it's like, I'm really doing it for you, I'm doing it for me. Because if I do it for you and you're a good woman, you're gonna take that and like build around it and like protect me with your love now. Because I need your love. I need you to be love and like nurturing and caring. I need that from you. But you're gonna do it to a level because it's natural. But that full blossom of the flower, it's a capped. It's a budding flower that kind of buds a little bit. You can smell it, but it's not fully bloomed. In her nurturing, her care for you and what you need. But once you start to get vulnerable and express yourself, your fears, then they can take that and bloom into a beautiful flower where you walk this love. Like, you can't wait to come home. You grab up on her, like that back and forth. Things get hard, but like that back and forth, where I walk in, I want to grab you. What's up, girl? Like, man, I had a hard day. I can't wait to get home to see my wife, though. And I've heard it, and so that's what I mean about like vulnerability or expression, because on the other side of our fear is the thing that we want the most, and that's in life. On the other side of our fears of what career, not learning enough. The only thing that you do to learn is ask questions. So we just ask questions to learn to be better, and so manhood is all of these things, and being there for one another as brothers, sharpening one another, pushing somebody, going to work every day, being consistent. That's another thing that I learned, right? Protecting. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna challenge you right now, because I know just the person that I am, how I best learn. I like it simple, straight, direct. What I'm asking from you is in 3 sentences. What is manhood?
Manhood is loving God because He's the source, of our lives. He molded and created us to be, to have dominion on earth and over everything.
Okay.
And dominion is like, taking everything under your care.
Rule over, but let's not confuse rule over for...
That's why I said it as in taking everything under your care.
Yes.
Because ruling over and caring are different things.
Connotation.
Right. And so the way I see it is that everything, my community is under my care. Our community, right, is under our care. And so the second would be, working hard,
okay,
right, and providing and taking care of those around you.
Okay.
And you have to work hard to do that. and then manhood being the third one. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain it. And I would say the third one being just loving others.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, because if I love you, I'm just going to be like, yo, how you doing, bro? Because I'm willing to ask. I want to know. I want to know what's going on with you. How you doing? Right? Because that builds our community. It builds one another. It builds respect. And men, we need respect. And the only way to really get respect is to give it.
That part.
Yeah, and we need to, and that goes to that, like, knowing yourself. That goes to that, like, identity. Once you're good with yourself, I'm gonna move around life giving respect, because that's just how I am. And then those that receive it, we're gonna give it back. Those that don't receive it, they're not gonna give it back. But that shows more of them than it does me. And so, yeah, that's manhood, is just being consistent, being good with yourself, and showing that to the world, and doing what you need to do.
Now, you spoke on something that I want to, now I got to ask you,
Okay,
bro.
yeah.
So, who are you then?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because you had mentioned, like, all right, these are the pieces of manhood, because if I love you, you know what I'm saying? Then, to that same vein, who is Ben Baines?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a man that loves God, for sure. I said that, that's what man is, I think. I really realize what my source is, and my strength, and the power that I have to live, communicate, express myself, is through God. Like, I know that God has, I guess I just believe that he created the earth, and that Christ came to save us, and to be the example of what we need to be in life. And it's not the way that we know through churches, because, that's a lot of that's religion. And like, Christ really came for us to learn how to be free, and everything is that matter of the heart, right? And it's the matter of our mind. And so if our mind is free from the things that are holding us back, the chains, the shackles, we can move in love in any situation. We have the ability to move in power, through the spirit, because we can move in power and love, like, no matter what. And that's freedom. So that's where I'm moving, and I feel like I'm learning that. That's where I am. So a man that loves God, a man that loves his community, that's proud to be, a black man, right? Like, and it's not like a joke, because, we're from, different cultures. Our father's from Honduras, my mother's Haitian, my mother's mixed. But to me, I think being a black man is not, it's like a sense of, like, power.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, you from America, you're from Africa. Like, we all came from the same place, just through different routes. But I think it's, it's a sense, like, there's an energy that, that flows through, that should be embraced. And to me, it's more of a sense of, like, community. Like, we're connected. I don't want to say differently, because I don't know the other experiences. I just know that we're connected. When I move and I see you, I see life, I see love, I see, like, power. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to show respect. That's who I am. Like, I see people in love and respect. I'm going to respect you, and I'm going to love you. If you need something, I got you. If you need to talk, I'm here. If I need it, I'm going to reach out to you, like, what's going on. And so I think that I love my family, love God, love my community. I love my identity. I think I would just sorry say it's like, I'm a man of love.
I can think of no better definition for the man I appreciate to be my older brother. Straight like that.
Yeah.
I mean, real talk, that's the questions I have for you, but I have one more kind of like follow up.
Yeah, let's do it.
One more quick follow up question, man. Because we got a young man in the building with us that's listening to all of this.
Try to act like he's not.
Try to act like he's not. But for real, we know we're recording this pod for people in the future to listen to.
Yeah.
2 sentences, what you want them to know, listening to this pod, that they're going to get.
I think that number one, life is easier than you think it is.
Real.
right? We make life a lot harder than it's supposed to be just because we want to be independent. We want to think we own it, we know it all, we got it. We don't. Nobody does. The oldest person that you might know is still learning, you know? And so, yeah, just with that, it's always be willing to continue to learn and receive from others, because a lot of the times they really just want you to grow. And so that's one.
All right.
Life is easier than you think it is. And two, communication's everything.
Bro.
Yeah, communication is everything. I think healthy communication, I would preface,
Yeah.
I say healthy communication is everything, just because it comes from a place of love and care. Like, I'll communicate to you that, hey, I might not like this. If I got a basketball coach and he's illing, like, hey, coach, like, respect, I want to do this play, but I just, that that aggression, it doesn't sit well with me. Ideally, he would respect that and talk to you a little different.
That's what it should be.
That's what it should be. I mean, yeah, but it just comes to, I guess the essence of what I'm saying is that healthy communication is a healthy self-respect. I have enough respect for me to know what I like, what I don't like. Sometimes you do have to deal with things that you don't. You can't make everybody treat you a certain way, but you got to know how you want to be treated, how you want to treat others.
Now, with that said, I think this is a good spot to wrap, but I want all of our listeners to understand that here at Follow Then Lead, the man that you just heard is the basis to everything we're going to grow from. So if you think that you can benefit from having better communication, from learning how to speak out of love, then I encourage you to listen in next week. Y'all be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Follow Then Lead podcast. You can reach us on social media at...
The email is followthenleadinc@gmail.com, Instagram, Follow Then Lead Podcast, and our Twitter is Follow Then Lead P. Until next time.
Take it easy.
Word.